A big what's up to everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be my video vetting the potential 76er free agency decisions going into the offseason, the 2020-21 offseason to be specific. I haven't really been keeping up with the NBA since our fraudulent fold. It's just not the same watching these games without the Sixers competing for a chip. And the crazy thing is, this happens every single time the squad goes out sad. Like last year within the bubble when we lost in 4 to the bum Boston Celtics. After that, John, I was depressed for like, 2 weeks, and the same thing happened this year when we lost to Mr. Trae Young and the rowdy upstart Hawks. I haven't been watching ESPN. I haven't been watching Fox Sports 1. I haven't been watching, the major sports networks, and I also haven't been tuning into Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio just because I don't feel like hearing the BS right now. I have watched a few games of the finals, but nothing to where I can get too deep or too analytical. Long story short, I would rather have the Suns win a championship this year. Milwaukee can kick rocks, and if you are a Sixers fan or have been a Sixers fan the last 7 or so years, you can understand why. It is legit crazy how many former 76ers are playing in this current finals. Like, legit ridiculous. Anyway, sub a brother up for more unique Sixers content because you know what we do here. I'm trying to reach 1K subs so we can become a fully monetized channel. So help a brother out if you rock with the content, and if not, that is fine too. All right, enough with the chit chat. Let's get to the video. So your Philadelphia 76ers have 7 players becoming free agents this offseason, but we're only going to focus on the 4 most important in my opinion. Despite our second round exit, the 76ers had a hell of a year obtaining the first seed in the Eastern Conference with these impact players, so they do have some value and can test the market to get some cheddar. So the way we're going to do this, I'm going to talk about these players and see if they are worth bringing back or not. Boys can curse me out in the comment section if they do not agree with me. We love engagement here. Danny Green played a pivotal role in the squad, which was highlighted by his absence during the second round. I don't think many understand, or rather many underestimate, the impact of a championship veteran with presence, leadership on a team. If Danny Green plays that full series, that full Hawk series, I do not believe we lose in 7, or at the very least lose 3 games at home. It is painfully obvious that the Sixers are a young, mentally weak team and need an anchor within the locker room who actually plays well on the floor to keep them level-headed. An example of Danny Green's impact was during the last Knicks game of the season, where we surrendered a large lead but ended up coming back, winning the game even though it went down to the wire. And I think it was an overtime game. Coach Glenn as well as Tobias said that it was because of Green's level-headedness that kept Bulls in the game and kept Bulls focused to ultimately win. I've been seeing a lot of folks online call Danny Green inconsistent and trash, and all I can really say is, like, you a casual dog, straight up. Yes, his best defensive days are behind him. I would expect a young gun like, Trae Young, who saw his first stab in the actual playoffs go off, right? Like, I would assume someone such as Trae Young would expose a older, 35, 36-year-old. But Danny still held his own on the defensive side of the ball this year. The Bulls shot, 41% from the corner, leading the league in that statistic. So he does give his value there. Bulls were happy that Danny got injured so Matisse could get more minutes, and you saw how that worked out, dummy. Overall, honestly, it's a go. The Sixers need to re-sign Danny to continue his veteran impact on our young players. It is important. It is more for the stepping stone of us becoming ultimately champions somewhere down the road, hopefully. In terms of contract, maybe it'll be somewhere where around 2 years, $20 million. His contract this year was 1 year, $15. We obviously can't sign him for that. Now, if we do keep Danny, I can see him somewhat becoming a scapegoat if we do become trash next year, just off of his recent comments about how Philadelphia fans can be very tough. Honestly, that's just, soft talk. Yes, Philadelphia fans can be emotionally irrational, but I can give examples of us, cheering on our stars when they aren't doing well, Fultz, even Ben himself this year. So yes, Philadelphia fans have issues, but let's not act like this is just, look, that's what it is playing in Philly. Now, I agree we shouldn't run people out of town, especially if they help us, right? Like, no. But like, Danny, you're wilding, like, you drawing. My main man, Dwight, I'm just going to come out and say it. I do not believe that the Sixers should re-sign Mans just because he's a liability in the playoffs. The fact of the matter is his position which is backup center, needs to be upgraded with a stretch shooter that can open up the second unit's offensive options, as well as opening up a potential of the same said player to be inserted into the starting lineup at moments. And hell, maybe even Bull doesn't even need to be a shooter per se, but he has to be more mobile than Dwight is at his age. Now, it must be said that Dwight was a monster during the regular season. I'm not going to take that from him, and he should be praised and given all the praise for it. He was a true enforcer that was desperately needed, and Mans embraced the city and played his role to a T, in addition to his, leadership qualities rubbing off on all of our young boys. But honestly, Tony Bradley, shout out to that boy, he showed that the roster can work with mobile bigs. I was always a proponent of Dwight ever since the signing, but it just doesn't make sense to retain a backup center that is one-dimensional in a playoff setting. Next up, Furkan Korkmaz, the Sultan, the Turkish delight. I would love to have Furk back. I'm only saying maybe, depending on the price. I don't want to overpay for him. What I would do if I'm the Sixers, it would somewhere probably be around $6 million. Another 2-year deal, 12 mil for 2 years. Since his game is still evolving, I did love the off the dribble aspect of his game that was shown to a larger extent this year, and the Bull is only 24. Now, of course, people are going to say, oh, he, improved his defense. Yes, slightly. Nothing to brag about, in my opinion. When he shoots, 3 free throws, he always misses one. So same old Furk in that sense. But I liked what I saw from him last year, and if given more of a opportunity, the sky is the limit for Furkan. So I would bring him back depending on the price. I would love to have him, especially since he's a process-born player. A big thing that I need Furkan to work on is his consistency. There were moments in time this season where he was on fire. He was either on fire or not giving you anything. So if he can work on that consistency, he would, be more of a rotational player. But anyway, have y'all seen this Bull ball out with the whole Turkish national team? Like, Furkan is a problem. His ceiling, he could definitely be more of a dynamic scorer if given, the right opportunity. So I would take a flyer on Furky. Mike Scott is leaving this season with $5 million. If you guys follow this channel, you already know how I feel about Mr. Scott. I would not be bringing him back this year just because he is past his usefulness stage. This team who has, assuming Ben Simmons is still on this team next year, you need stretch bigs who can, stretch the floor and hit threes. I want to thank him for his service here in Philly the last 3 years. He was Bull when he first came. It's honestly interesting how Bulls forget that Mike Scott was a part of that Clippers trade when Bulls got Tobias. He lived out his contract, but everything has to come to an end. So thank you, Mr. Mike Scott. The Hive will remember you, and we thank you for your service. Free agent honorable mentions: Anthony Tolliver, Gary Clark, and Rajon Tucker. I don't know, who cares? And yes, I love Rajon's raw ability. That Bull was on an actual 2-way contract, and I don't see why we wouldn't just have him again. You never know if he could be the next diamond in the rough with his high impact plays, high impact dunks, high flyer, and it seems like Bull always plays at a Russell Westbrook 150% motor each time, trying to annihilate his opponent. So Tolliver, Clark, I really could give to Milwaukee Bucks about. But Rajon, yeah, I would definitely love to retain him. I know a lot of folks was talking about George Hill. He is locked up for the next 2 seasons. If I'm thinking correctly, I think he has a player option going into next year, but he's probably going to pick that up. Either way, we can definitely use this as a trade piece moving forward. So yeah, that's all we got to say about the Philadelphia 76ers potential free agency class. I don't see us picking up anyone from the free agency market. I definitely got to look, but I honestly think we're probably going to run it back next year, whether Bulls like it or not. I think we are going to run it back with most of the same core. So, but yes, sir. Next video, I will be giving my thoughts on Ben Simmons and what I believe the team should do with him and the rest of the roster moving forward. a team outlook video, so be on the lookout for that joint. Thank you everybody for pulling up and listening to A Brother Think. Like, comment, share, subscribe with a Sixers fiend if you feel so inclined. What do you think about the Philadelphia 76ers free agency class this season? Who would you keep? Who would you let go? To recap, I would keep Danny Green. I would keep Furkan for the right price. I would let Dwight Howard go, and Mike Scott can go as well. I low-key might need a new catchphrase, but as always, them boys are mad because the process worked. My name is Kyan, and I will see you next time. Peace.